the GAN 12 MagLev, the GAN 13 MagLev, the GAN 14 MagLev. I'll admit, it is a catchy name, but has GAN really changed enough to make it worth spending another $88 on this year's flagship speed cube? I guess it's time to open it up and find out. As always, GAN does a great job of making it feel like you're opening a high-end product. This year with the addition of this fancy ribbon pull tab, they have this high-quality plastic card, which serves no purpose, and then you're greeted by the cube and the accessory box. You have your standard fare velvety bag, futuristic-looking adjustment tool, as well as some instruction booklets, and the cube comes in this high-quality plastic magnetic box, which opens up with the satisfying click of a button. And it seems like the box has a little secret compartment down here with some extra magnetic parts in case you want to adjust those on the go. And based on their marketing, it really does sound like having endless adjustments is the main feature of the GAN 14 MagLev. So we'll be taking a good look at all of those features in a minute. But there's one option that's not adjustable, and that is the actual finish on the puzzle. This cube comes in two versions. There's the basic matte plastic version for $78, and then there's the UV coated version with a nice glossy scratch resistant finish for $88. I'll put links to where you can buy both of them in the description, and you can use discount code Z3Cubing for 5% off at the cubicle. Anyway, let's try out the turning. Okay, interesting. So first impressions, it feels very sort of loose and flexible, at least with the settings that it has out of the box. Compared to their last two flagships, it feels like they're kind of going back to that effortless, ultra light and airy feeling to the turning, kind of like a classic GAN cube feel. The GAN 13 had a unique, smooth, almost sort of dampened feel to the turning, making it a fair bit more controllable, whereas on the GAN 14, I feel like they just threw that all out the window and went for maximum speed. They still have what they call their auto turning feature, where you give it a little flick and the cube basically turns all the way automatically, but I feel like it's toned down a little bit since last time, so the magnets aren't quite so overpowering. I feel like the 14 has more raw potential performance, like it can corner cut over 45 with ease, whereas the 13 would sometimes struggle to do just 45. So it's ultimately going to depend on what kind of cuber you are. I personally love the effortlessness of the turning, but I'm not sure I'm going to be able to handle the increased speed and flexibility while speed solving. But let's move on to all the different adjustment features on the GAN 14 MagLev. It seems like their main marketing ploy is the fact that there's 1,296 different ways to adjust it. The first one, which I was pleasantly surprised to see, are the piece magnets. Just the regular old magnets that go between the edges and the corners. As you can see right here, they are now adjustable. This feature has actually been missing on many of GAN's recent flagships, and it's one of the adjustments that I actually use the most often on my other 3x3s, which is why I'm so happy to see it here. I think we just use this little metal tool and push this little plastic bit back and forth. As you can see, there's 1, 2, and 3 different settings. This one's the strongest and this one's the weakest. When you adjust it on one side of the edge, it looks like it does not automatically adjust on the other side of the edge, which isn't a big deal, but it does mean you have to adjust in 24 individual places each time you want to switch the setting, which can get a little bit tedious. So far, that's 3 different ways to adjust it. Let's pop open the center cap here to see where they're getting the rest of that crazy number of settings from. So it looks exactly like the GAN 13 MagLev on the inside. If you want, you can push down and rotate 90 degrees to take the cube completely apart, or just take a look at the MagLev. So here we have the 2 repelling magnets, which basically simulate a spring. So right at the top here, we can spin this outer circle to change the tensions. So as you can see right now, it's on 2, and if we spin it, we can get it to go to 1. And then down here at the bottom, we can spin this little gear to change the elasticity, basically how springy the cube is. Now, it was always really finicky to try and change these settings with a little tiny tool like this, which is why this year they included this big adjustment tool. It looks like on one end they have the 3 little notches, so you can spin the circle like this. And on the other end, we have these 2 notches, so you can reach down there and spin the little gear. So that makes these settings infinitely easier to adjust, especially if you're going around and doing it on all sides. But if you're on the go, you can always still do it with this little tool or even a flathead screwdriver. So we now have 3 piece magnet positions, 6 tensions, and 6 elasticities for 108 total settings. So we're getting there. But for the rest of the adjustments, we're gonna have to take a look at the core magnets. So as you can see, we have 8 magnets attached to the core. Each corner piece has a magnet on the end of the stem, which will attract to those core magnets like that. And then the edges also have magnets on them, which actually repel those core magnets. So as you can see, it really does not want to be in that position. So working together, the edges and the corners create a very deep magnetic feel that actually pulls the layer into place as you're turning it. And then at the end of the turn, the standard piece magnets are what give you that sharp magnetic click. So the corners are where we can actually adjust the strength of these core magnets. As you can see right now, there's a little number 3 right there. And if we go ahead and push this wheel to the side, now it says 2 and then 1. And if you go ahead and watch this magnet, you can actually see it moving up and down as I spin the wheel. And if you need more than the 6 settings available by default, that's what these extra little magnets that come in the box are for. So what you can do is take your adjustment tool and use the little side part right here, line it up on the magnet, and then twist and pull to remove the default one. And then you take one of these from the box, stick it into the hole, and once it's all the way in there, you can once again take your adjustment tool and twist it until it snaps into place. I'm assuming the blue magnets are the weaker settings based on the magnet not sticking out quite as far. And so overall, that gives you 3 different piece magnet positions, 6 tensions, 6 elasticities, 2 different core magnet options, and 6 different core magnet positions for a total of 1,296 different settings. Are all of those combinations going to be useful or good? Obviously not, but hey, big numbers make for good marketing gimmicks. So is the GAN 14 MagLev really a unique new product? Or is it just a bunch of marketing gimmicks piled on top of a design from 1, 2, 3 years ago? Let's open up these cubes and find out. Obviously, these cubes all turn a little bit different, so there have certainly been some worthwhile incremental changes, but have a look at a 2020 corner versus a 2023 corner. Other than the adjustment features, to the untrained eye, they look pretty much identical, and the same is true of the edges. Of course, there's nothing wrong with iterating on a design that works and that people like, but when you can literally stick the pieces of a 3-year-old cube into your brand new flagship and basically not tell any difference, I think it's probably time to start changing some things up and looking in a new direction. And I guess that's part of the reason that I've kind of been falling out of love with GAN cubes over the last few years. Don't get me wrong, I love a quick and easy adjustment system, and GAN has definitely been driving that area forward, but most of the time when I get a new speed cube, I'll change 1 or 2 settings on day 1, and then literally never adjust it again. If GAN really wants to sell a new $88 speed cube every year, I think they gotta do a little more than just add one little adjustment feature. Don't get me wrong, the GAN 14 is a perfectly good cube if you're buying, say, your first GAN puzzle, but if you already have an 11 or a 12 or a 13, I just don't really see the point in upgrading. Of course, there's always those subtle differences in turning feel. I think the 14 is the most fast and uncontrollable, the 13 is a little bit more subdued, and the 12 is maybe somewhere in between. But at the end of the day, I think I made up my mind years ago that I strongly prefer the much more stable cubes from the likes of X-Man and Moyu, which just happen to be a lot cheaper too. I think in a high pressure competition environment, I'd much rather use a basic $10 cube from Mofeng Xiaoxi than what for me is a totally out of control GAN cube. Though on the other hand, I sometimes enjoy picking up a GAN cube when I'm just solving for fun, just for the variety of it. So as always, depending on your turning style or even how competitive you are, and especially if you love tinkering with and constantly adjusting your cubes, I would say the GAN 14 could certainly be a good option, so long as you have that kind of money to throw around on plastic cubes. So overall, I'm kind of indifferent on this puzzle. I'm not going to use it, but I know there's a lot of hype behind it, and a lot of people will be very happy with it. So let me know what you think down in the comments. If you bought this cube, what do you think about it? If you didn't buy it, why not? And where do you want to see GAN moving towards in the future? Anyway, I really hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time.